Welcome back, Bulls fans. Today, I want to talk about Karim Lopez because I've been seeing some talk about people wanting him at 15, and I'm going to give some strengths of his, some weaknesses of his, a comparison or two I've seen, and kind of my overall thoughts on if we were to go with him at 15. Now, before we get too deep into the video today, I want to know your gut reaction. How would you feel about taking Karim Lopez? Comment amazing or terrible down in the comments below. Now, Karim Lopez is a 19-year-old forward originally from Mexico, but is playing for the New Zealand Breakers in the NBL right now. He's a 6'9" small forward with a 6'11" and a half wingspan. And this season, he had a pretty good season. He averaged 11.9 points on 50.2% shooting, 2 assists, 6.1 rebounds, 1 block, and 1.2 steals a game in only 25.8 minutes per game. So pretty solid production for the amount of minutes he got. Not to mention, it's overseas basketball. They aren't scoring the same way we are here. So the points per game numbers are almost always going to be lower when you get an overseas prospect. So I'm not really too concerned with the 11.9 points per game. I'm really liking those 2.2 stocks per game though. And with that being said, one of his strengths I have is the blocks and steals, those stocks, that 2.2. And while, yes, I know that stocks don't tell the full story of a defender, I do think it's a good barometer on showing if there's something there to work with. Let me explain that more. If someone's getting, let's say, 0.7 stocks combined, I'm gonna think there's nothing there to work with as a defender. I'm kind of gonna write them off as a defender if I'm being honest. I'm not gonna focus on it too hard because there's only so much you can do when they're not showing anything. But if I see someone like Karim averaging 2.2 stocks, I'm going to get very excited because whether he's a good or a bad defender, if he's averaging 2 stocks per game, I know for a fact there's something there to work with. And that's all I'm asking for right now with any prospect for any skill. I just want them to show that there is something there to work with that we can develop and get them to be as good as they possibly can at that skill. So that's why I think the stocks are a strength of his. On top of the stocks, kind of just attacking the basket in general with that driving and finishing. The biggest thing to me that stuck out when I was watching his film earlier was the fact that he's very good at attacking the basket. He's for a 6'9" wing, he's pretty good at being able to contort his body around defenders. Now, he's not going to be pulling out any Kyrie magic or anything, nowhere near that. But given, like I said, given the fact that he's a 6'9" forward, I'm not going to expect him to do that. But he showed enough of body control to be able to get into the air and change up how he's attacking the basket in the air with a defender on him, which is going to be huge because if he can cut and do stuff like that, that's going to open the offense more, which will allow Giddey another cutter to work with. That'll allow Modest some more space. And I think if we can open the offense up and add another layer to this offense, it can just make this team run so much smoother. And that is something really exciting for me to think about. I don't know about you guys, but it really excites me. And the last one is his athleticism. He had a inch vertical and a 2.88-second shuttle drill at the combine. And that's kind of what excites me with the stocks numbers is he's showing enough athleticism where I think it can translate to the NBA. Now, obviously, the NBL is a little bit different in the athleticism department. They don't have as many all-world athletes as the NBA does. But having that translatable athleticism is going to be so huge, especially in an offense that has someone as athletic as Modest. If we can get two pretty high, if not high caliber athletes in this offense, it'll just add another layer to it. And like I said, if we can add another layer, that'll just give us that much more to work with when trying to win games. Now, before I get into the weaknesses, I want to know if you're excited for this rebuild. If you are, make sure to hit that like and hype button down below. Now, for his weaknesses, the biggest ones to me are the overcommitting on defense, which ties into the fouls. That's one thing that really jumped out to me on the stat sheet was he averaged over 4 fouls a game. And it's just hard to put into words because it's crazy to think of a 25-minute per game player averaging 4 fouls a game. Like it's almost impressive. Like it stems from the overcommitment on defense. I've seen a lot of people knock him for just committing too hard to getting a steal, committing too hard to blocking a shot, and it just leads to the whistle, which honestly, if that's his biggest weakness, I'm not even too upset because that's something that's super easy to fix. Just get him with the vet, get him with someone like Sticks, who is known to be a good shot blocker, and have him work with him for the summer and just kind of show him, hey, the way you've been going up to block a shot, that's what's giving you the fouls. Instead of jumping this way, jump more this way. Stuff like that. And you get him to do that, you can get him to easily cut down on the fouls, get him to cut down on overcommitting, which the overcommitment doesn't just lead to the fouls, it does lead to him getting burned too. So if you cut down on the overcommitment, first off, he's giving up less points per game, but he's also fouling less. It's a win-win all around. And honestly, like I said, is it a bad weakness to have? Absolutely. You don't want to give up easy buckets. You don't want to foul. But it's also one that I see as pretty easy to fix. Now, another one that was pretty glaring, but I think is fairly easy to fix, is the three-point percentage. He shot 32% from 3-on-3 attempts. Not the best. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what the average three-point percentage in the NBL is, but I know the average in the NBA is about 36% last I knew. So not the best. And it is easy to fix, though. I mean, end of the day, just get extra reps in. The first step, but also just make the shooting coach his best friend. If you make the shooting coach his best friend, he will have that much better of a chance of fixing his jumper. Because when I watched his jumper, it didn't have a glaring hitch in it. It wasn't a super low release or anything. It kind of just seemed like he was shooting and it just wasn't going in. Which, if that's the case, I'm perfectly fine with a low three-point percentage because, like I said, that's just getting extra reps in. That's just working with a shooting coach more. But if it was something like he had a hitch in his jumper, then I'd be like, Okay, that's kind of concerning. That's a lot harder to fix. It's a lot harder to relearn your jump shot than to just get more reps in and get the shot to fall. So that's kind of where I stand on his 3 point percentage. The last one is defensive rating. And I mean, that is kind of just going to come with more experience working with better defenders. If we can get some more defenders on this team to take him under his wing, that'll be fine. And wingspan, I mean, he has a positive wingspan, which end of the day, you need a positive wingspan. The oh, it's really hard to succeed with a negative wingspan. The only two I can think of off the top of my head are JJ Redick and Desmond Bain, but I mean, outside of shooting, they weren't doing too much. But the positive wingspan, obviously a plus. But the fact that it's only 2.5 inches longer than his height, that concerns me a little bit. Especially with a wing. I personally like having my wings to have almost pterodactyl like wingspans because the wings, specifically the small forwards, are going to be bearing a lot of the perimeter defensive pressure. And you see guys like Mikal Bridges, you see guys like Kawhi Leonard. They have crazy wingspans, and that's what allows them to be such a good defender. The shorter your wingspan, the harder it is to be a good defender for the fact that you do have to try harder to get into the passing lanes. Whereas if he had, let's say, a 7'2" wingspan, he instead of having to go all the way out like this, he can just go like this, and he's in the passing lane. But I mean, it's not the worst weakness ever. You can definitely overcome a less than ideal wingspan. So I'm not worried too much. Just something it is a weakness that I've seen people say that his wingspan could be longer. Now, overall, the comparisons game, I've mostly seen Denny Avdia and Franz Wagner. And I kind of see it with Denny just kind of the high stocks player, and with both of them being a inside out scorer. He's like I said, he loves driving to the rim, he loves attacking at the cup, and you see a lot of that in Denny and Franz. You see a lot of cutting to the basket, a lot of driving to the basket, a lot of mid range game, and not necessarily the greatest 3 point game. And honestly, it kind of describes Karim to a T. Not to mention they are both overseas players, but that's I don't hate this comparison. They definitely have similar scoring ideals. Definitely good defenders. I think Denny's a plus defender, but Franz is Franz is definitely a good defender. So overall, I see it. Now, my thoughts on taking Karim at 15. I don't hate it. I'm not going to sit here and say if we draft Karim Lopez, I'm going to be upset. I won't be upset. I just think there are better players that we can draft that will still be on the board at 15. Like, for example, if it's time to make the pick and we have, let's say, Sanak Jr., Steinbach, or Lopez, I'm going Sanak or Steinbach over Lopez. I I just think we need a big more than a wing, and I just like them more as prospects. Like I said, I don't think Karim is a bad prospect by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's a good prospect. I think he can be a good player in this league. Do I think he's going to be a superstar? No. But do I think he can be that like third option that can go off for a high scoring night every couple games? Yes. Do I think he can be a serviceable defender who can enhance a defense? Yes. But do I think there are other guys that do that just a little bit better? Yeah. So overall, I'm not rushing to pick him, but if we do, I'm not upset in the slightest. Now, please make sure you are sharing the video, subscribing. We're trying to reach 1,900 subscribers. We're roughly 70 away. Every subscriber counts, every share counts. We'd love having you guys here. We'd love interacting with you guys. And with that being said, thank you for joining. Make sure not just here, but make sure you're following on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're uploading every day. Jordan and I have a ton of content in the vault waiting to drop for you. We want to make sure we get you the best Bulls news in a timely fashion. We're having a blast covering this offseason. We hope you guys are having a blast with it too. And with that being said, have a great day. See Red Bulls Nation.